Kenny Perry walks around the corner. He says, "I thought you and Scott Hoch broke up." And I said, "Well, we did. We've got 2 tournaments, and then I'm going to work for Zach." So 5 minutes later, Scott Hoch comes up and he says, "Did we break up?" And I said, "Yeah, Scott. Don't you remember? I came to your house. It was out with the old and in with the new."
Scott Hoch won 11 times on the PGA Tour, earned nearly $19 million, and became the oldest winner in Champions Tour history at age 63. But if you ask most golf fans about him today, they'll tell you one thing: he choked away the Masters. He missed a 2-foot putt that would have made him a champion, and instead, he became a punchline. The man who should be remembered as a ball-striking virtuoso is instead known as the guy who couldn't handle the pressure. And the worst part? The golf world never let him forget it. Scott Mabant Hoch was born on November 24th, 1955 in Raleigh, North Carolina. He grew up with a club in his hand and a chip on his shoulder. He attended Wake Forest University, a school that had already produced legends like Arnold Palmer and Lanny Wadkins. Hoch wasn't just good, he was dominant. He won back-to-back Atlantic Coast Conference individual championships in 1977 and 1978. In 1978, he reached the final of the U.S. Amateur, losing 5-4 to John Cook. That performance earned him a spot on the 1978 Eisenhower Trophy team and the 1979 Walker Cup team. Both squads won. He was also invited to the 1979 Masters tournament as an amateur. He was paired with his idol Arnold Palmer in the first round. He finished tied for 34th, the second lowest amateur. Everything pointed to stardom. But before Hoch could fully embrace his professional career, something happened that would change him forever. In 1982, while staying in a hotel room in Tucson, Arizona, Hoch and his wife Sally were held at gunpoint by an intruder. The man tied them up and kept them captive for an hour. Hoch later admitted he thought he was going to die. That kind of trauma doesn't just disappear. For a professional athlete whose job depends on managing artificial stress, experiencing real mortal terror recalibrates everything. When you've stared down the barrel of a gun, a 3-putt or a reporter's question feels trivial. Some people thought Hoch became cantankerous after that. Maybe he just realized what actually mattered. But the golf world didn't care about his trauma. They cared about his results. And in 1987, Hoch gave them something to talk about. At the PGA Championship, he 3-putted the 18th hole from inside 10 feet and missed a playoff by 1 stroke. It was a brutal collapse, but it was just a preview of what was coming. April 1989, Augusta National Golf Club, the Masters Tournament. Hoch was playing the best golf of his life. He held a 1-shot lead over England's Nick Faldo on the 17th hole, a par 4. His approach shot missed the green, but he executed a remarkable chip from the right side, leaving himself a 4-footer to save par and keep the lead. He missed it. The bogey dropped him into a tie with Faldo. He still had a chance to win on the 18th hole, but he missed that birdie putt too. The tournament went to a sudden death playoff. The playoff started on the 10th hole, a downhill par 4. Faldo played poorly. He hit a sloppy approach shot into the greenside bunker and failed to get up and down. He made a bogey 5. Hoch, on the other hand, played the hole perfectly. He reached the green in regulation and lagged his birdie putt down the hill. The ball stopped about 24 inches from the cup. All he had to do was make a 2-foot par putt, and he would be the Masters champion. He took over 2 minutes to line it up. He stalked the putt from every angle. His brain was working overtime, overanalyzing a simple stroke. When he finally drew the putter back, he didn't strike the ball with confidence. He pushed it. The ball started outside the left edge and never turned back. It didn't even touch the lip. The crowd gasped. Ken Venturi, calling the broadcast, said the words that would haunt Hoch forever: 24 inches from a green coat. Hoch had to mark his ball and make the return putt just to extend the playoff. He did, but the damage was done. The momentum had shifted entirely. The playoff moved to the 11th hole. The light was fading fast. Hoch couldn't recover from the shock of what had just happened. Faldo buried a 25-foot birdie putt in the gloom and won his first green jacket. Hoch walked off the green in devastation, and the golf world pounced. The media didn't just report on the miss. They mocked him. Sports Illustrated ran scathing headlines. CBS producer Frank Cherkinian was caught on a hot mic during the broadcast saying, "I can't believe I'm directing a Masters that Scott Hoch is going to win." The institutional bias was obvious. The press loved Faldo, the polished Englishman with the perfect swing. They didn't love Hoch, the blunt American who said what he thought and didn't play the media game. And it got worse. That same year, a poll conducted by the Dallas Times-Herald surveyed about 50 tour players. They voted Scott Hoch the least popular golfer on the PGA Tour. The label destroyed him. He admitted in 1989 that he was really hurt by the result. Years later, in a 2002 interview, his wife Sally tried to stop him from bringing it up in an Orlando restaurant. She said, "Don't bring that up." Hoch replied, "It's out there, honey. Everybody knows about it. You can't unring a bell." So why did his peers hate him? There were a few reasons. First, he committed what golf traditionalists considered a mortal sin. He publicly called the old course at St. Andrews the worst piece of mess he had ever seen. In a sport that worships its history, that comment was seen as blasphemy. The British press tore tore him apart. American golf writers piled on, calling him an ugly American who was loud, unappreciative, and boorish. Second, in 1986, Hoch won the Varden Trophy for the lowest scoring average on tour without winning a single tournament that year. Critics accused him of gaming the system by avoiding difficult courses and high-pressure situations to protect his average. It fed into a narrative that Hoch played for money and statistics rather than glory. Third, his on-course demeanor was intense and vocal. He was contentious and cantankerous. He didn't hide his frustration. He didn't fake politeness for the cameras. Some people appreciated his honesty. Most didn't. He became the standard-bearer for tour unpopularity in the late 80s. The combination of the Masters miss and the unpopularity poll created a perfect storm of negative perception. Hoch became the guy everyone loved to hate. But here's the thing. The narrative was always incomplete. People saw the missed putt and the poll results, but they didn't see the context. They didn't see a man who had survived a life-threatening hostage situation. They didn't see a player who competed at the highest level while battling injuries that would have ended most careers. They didn't see the charitable work or the quiet resilience. They just saw the surface, and they judged him for it. The psychological toll of being labeled the least popular player on tour can't be overstated. Golf is a mental game, and reputation matters. When your peers don't respect you, when the media mocks you, when fans remember you only for your failures, it creates a weight that affects every shot. Hoch carried that weight for decades. Every time he stepped onto a golf course, people were waiting for him to fail again. Every time he faced a critical putt, commentators would reference Augusta. Every interview became an opportunity for someone to ask about the miss or the pole. It would have been easy to quit. It would have been understandable to walk away. But Hoch didn't. Before we continue, do me a favor. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Scott Hoch deserved the least popular golfer label, or was he just misunderstood? I'm curious what you think. And if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. The tragedy of the least popular label is that it completely overshadowed who Scott Hoch actually was off the course. After winning the 1989 Las Vegas Invitational, the same year as the Masters miss in the poll, Hoch donated $100,000 of his winnings to the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital in Orlando. That wasn't a publicity stunt. The Hoch family became major benefactors of the hospital. They eventually had a floor named after them. Friends like Kenny Perry described Hoch as a softie and a misunderstood guy who was tactless but guileless. He wasn't the villain the media made him out to be. He was just honest in a sport that preferred polite lies. The disconnect between public perception and private reality was stark. The same man who was vilified in locker rooms and press boxes was beloved by hospital staff and families whose children he helped. The same player who couldn't get respect from his peers earned the gratitude of countless people who benefited from his generosity. But none of that made headlines. None of that changed the narrative. The golf world had decided who Scott Hoch was, and no amount of charitable work was going to change their minds. But the golf world didn't care about his charity. They cared about the putt he missed, and they cared about the tournaments he won, even though most people have forgotten about them. Hoch won 11 times on the PGA Tour. His first win came in 1980 at the Quad Cities Open, his rookie season. He kept winning well into his 40s. In 2001, at age 45, he won the Western Open, one of the tour's most prestigious non-major events. He defeated Davis Love III by 1 stroke. In 2003, he won the Ford Championship at Doral in a playoff against Jim Furyk. The playoff was delayed until Monday because Hoch refused to put out at the second playoff hole, claiming the light was too bad. He returned the next morning and beat Furyk, proving he could handle playoff pressure, even if the ghosts of Augusta still followed him. He was also a consistent contender in major championships. At the 1993 and 2002 U.S. Opens, he recorded top 5 finishes. He qualified for the U.S. Ryder Cup team in 1997 and 2002. His 1997 selection at age 42 made him the second oldest American rookie in Ryder Cup history. Now that's not something a choker does. That's something a champion does. What made Hoch's career even more remarkable was his consistency across different eras of golf. He played against the legends of the 70s and 80s, competed through the Tiger Woods dominance of the 90s and 2000s, and then found success again on the Champions Tour. He adapted his game as equipment changed, as courses got longer, and as the competition got younger and stronger. Most players fade after their prime. Hoch kept grinding. He kept showing up. He kept proving that he belonged. His longevity wasn't just about physical ability. It was about mental toughness. After the 1989 Masters, most people expected Hoch to crumble. They expected him to become another cautionary tale about choking under pressure. But he refused to let that moment define him. He won the very next tournament he played, the Las Vegas Invitational. He kept competing at the highest level. He kept putting himself in positions to win. That takes courage. That takes resilience. That takes a level of mental strength that most people will never understand. But the wins came at a cost. Hoch's body was falling apart. In 1992, he had shoulder surgery. It was the only year between 1980 and the early 2000s that he finished outside the top 40 on the money list. In 2004, he sprained his left wrist during the PGA Championship when the ground on a tee box gave way and he fell. But the worst injury came in April 2005. Hoch snapped a tendon in his left hand. He tried to play through it, but eventually he had surgery during the week of the Funai Classic. Doctors removed 2 pieces of bone and cartilage. The surgeon told him the bone was diseased and said, "I can't see how you've been playing at all for years." To repair the hand, they replaced an entire bone in his left thumb with a tendon. That's a catastrophic injury for a golfer. The left thumb is critical for gripping the club and stabilizing the face at impact. Hoch missed the entire 2012 season recovering from thumb reconstruction, but somehow, defying all medical logic, he came back. The fact that Hoch competed at all after the hand surgery is remarkable. Most golfers would have retired. The pain alone would have been enough to end a career. But Hoch wasn't most golfers. He had spent his entire life proving people wrong. He had spent decades fighting against a narrative that said he was a choker, that he was unpopular, that he didn't belong. The hand injury was just another obstacle. And like everything else in his career, he refused to let it stop him. When Hoch turned 50 in 2005, he joined the PGA Tour champions, and he dominated. In 2007, he won the FedEx Kinko's Classic, his first senior title. In February 2008, he went on a tear, winning back-to-back weeks at the Alliance Championship and the ACE Group Classic. If his health had held up, he might have rivaled Bernhard Langer for senior supremacy. But the most impressive chapter came in April 2019. Partnering with Tom Pernice Jr. at the Bass Pro Shops Legends of Golf, Hoch captured the title at the age of 63. It made him the oldest winner in the history of the PGA Tour champions at that time. Bernhard Langer broke the record in October 2021, but Hoch held it first. To win a professional event at 63, 11 years after his previous victory, and after massive hand reconstruction, requires a level of touch and mental fortitude that completely contradicts the choke narrative. The 2019 victory was more than just a record, it was vindication. It was proof that the narrative about Scott Hoch was wrong. The man who supposedly couldn't handle pressure won a professional tournament at an age when most players are retired. The man who supposedly choked in big moments found a way to close out a title when his body was barely holding together. The man who supposedly cared only about money and statistics kept competing long after the money stopped mattering. So where is Scott Hoch now? As of November 2025, he's 69 years old and living quietly in Orlando, Florida. He's no longer a regular presence on tournament leaderboards. He exhausted his major medical extensions on the Champions Tour. Recent data shows a string of withdrawals and missed cuts in his final appearances at events like the Insperity Invitational and the Bridgestone Senior Players Championship. He's not listed in the active fields for the 2024 to 2025 season. His competitive days are over. He lives in the prestigious Windermere and Bay Hill area, close to the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He still has ties to the golf world through his business, Scott Hoch Golf Design, where he works as a golf course architect. His portfolio includes collaborations and solo designs, though his active project list appears quiet compared to major firms like Nicholas Design. He's semi-retired from that field as well. There's also some confusion about the name Cameron in relation to Hoch's legacy. His son Cameron Hoch played golf at Wake Forest and now works in real estate and property management in the Orlando area. He's associated with Maybon Management Group and Resolute Development Group. People often confuse him with PGA Tour star Cameron Young, who also attended Wake Forest and won the Wyndham Championship. But they're not related. Cameron Young is the son of golf professional David Young. The 1989 Masters will always be the headline of Scott Hoch's career. It's the moment frozen in time that defines him to most people. But the real story is what happened after. He didn't quit. He didn't fade away. He played for another 30 years. He won tournaments in his 40s, 50s, and 60s. He donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to children's hospitals. He became the oldest winner in Champions Tour history. He battled through surgeries, injuries, and a reputation that never truly recovered. And now, at 69, he's retired peacefully in Orlando, still part of golf history, even if most people only remember the putt he missed. Scott Hoch's story is a reminder that public perception is often incomplete and unfair. The same fans who called him a choker never had to face the pressure he faced. The same media members who mocked him never had to perform under the scrutiny he endured. The same peers who voted him least popular never had to survive what he survived. His career was defined by one missed putt, but it should have been defined by his 11 victories, his charitable contributions, his resilience through injury, and his refusal to quit when everyone expected him to fail. In the end, Scott Hoch outlasted the critics. He outlasted the injuries. He outlasted the narrative. He proved that success isn't just about winning majors or being popular. Sometimes it's about showing up every day and refusing to let the world tell you who you are. Hoch did that for 4 decades. And while history may remember the missed putt, those who look closer will see a man who fought harder and lasted longer than almost anyone gave him credit for. So let me ask you one more time. Do you think Scott Hoch deserves to be remembered as a choker or as a champion who kept fighting? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stick around for the next story. Thanks for watching.